I thought you heard. That's what I told you.
So they hit up that.
Like,
all right, let me send you this link real quick.
okay.
Lower price cap. Yeah, count. I got you. All right, look. Bear with me, Israel. Let's count my quad real quick. You got it?
Okay.
All right. Shalom, Israel. It's Isupk Chicago. Tuesday night biblical law class. What we talk about, go over is what is against the law, what is okay with the law according to the Bible, if it's righteous or wicked, and things of that nature. So everyone knows what tonight is, in quote, New Year's Eve. Everyone knows that the so-called New Year's is tomorrow on January 1st. But if you actually go into the deep dive in some history, not into a deep dive, just a little Google history, you'll find out the real New Year's. You understand? So we're going to dive into a little bit of history and coincide it with some scriptures. So if you could, read that history for me.
Ghana. It's history.com. This day in history, January 1st. The Julian calendar takes effect for the first time on New Year's Day.
The what?
The Julian calendar takes effect for the first time on New Year's Day.
The Julian calendar takes effect for the first time on New Year's Day. Go ahead.
In 45 BC.
And when?
45 BC.
This is 45 years before Christ.
New Year's Day is celebrated on January 1st.
You understand? This is only 40 years before Christ. You understand? The earth and everything along with that nature was already thousands of years old. People in civilizations were already going on for thousands of years before Christ even came on the scene. But this is only 45 years prior to his time. Go ahead.
In 45 BC, New Year's Day is celebrated on January 1st for the first time in history.
For what?
For the first time in history.
For the first time in history, meaning all those years prior to 45 BC, January 1st was not the new year. You understand? We celebrating New Year's resolutions and everything as if January 1st is the real New Year. Go ahead.
As the Julian calendar takes effect.
Wait, as a whose calendar?
Julian calendar takes effect.
That's not the Lord's calendar.
Julian calendar.
This is the Julian calendar. You understand? We'll get into let you know who Julian is. Go ahead.
Soon after becoming Roman dictator.
After soon what?
Soon after becoming Roman dictator.
Right after becoming the Roman dictator. Go ahead.
Julius Caesar decided that the traditional Roman calendar was in a dire need of reform.
You understand? So this Julius Caesar, he decided on his own merit, because he was the ruler over in Rome at that period of time, he decided, you know what? The calendar's not working out. You understand? I don't like how the calendar dates and the years and all the seasons match up. So what needs to happen? It needs to be reformed and changed. Go ahead.
Introduced around the 7th century BC, the Roman calendar attempted to follow the lunar cycle, but frequently fell out of phase.
What was the year?
So like it, sir. The 7th century BC.
The 7th century BC, right before Christ. Go ahead, read it again.
The Roman calendar attempted to follow the lunar cycle, but frequently fell out of phase.
You understand? Meaning they attempted to follow the lunar calendar, like with the equinoxes and all that, and it did what?
Fell out of phase.
Fell out of phase. Meaning they just didn't think it was working out. Go ahead.
With the seasons and had to be corrected.
With the what?
With the seasons and had to be
You
corrected.
understand? The way they had it going, they just didn't think it was working out with the seasons and how the winter, fall, summer, and spring were panning out. Go ahead.
In addition, the pontifices, the Roman body charged with overseeing the calendar, often abused its authority by adding days to extend political terms to interfere with elections.
You understand? You understand? Basically, it would be like the Congress of the Roman of Rome. You understand? For lack of better words, the pontifices or whatever. They decided just for political states and elections and votes and all that, they had to add days to the calendar to throw the runners up off their game, off their squares, whatever the case may be. You understand? So that's right there. They've already added days to the calendar. You understand? They're already adding days. This is before the complete flip. They've already been adding individual days just for like your presidential elections and your congressmen and all that when they have to elect who's going to be the next in office or in the chair or in the House of Representatives, whatever the case may be. The same way we do that in America right now, they were doing back in Rome. You understand? Because it's the same nation of people, just two different time frames. You understand? What they were doing during those political movements was adding days to throw people off their game. You understand? Or to add more time to the campaigning, or whatever you want to call it. Go ahead.
In designing his new calendar.
Designing what?
In designing his new calendar.
In designing the Lord's.
His new calendar.
In designing his new calendar. You understand? This is a man that is deciding what days are here, what days are here, when this day is, what that day is. He himself is deciding all this. Go ahead.
Caesar enlisted the aid of Sosigenes, an Alexandrian astronomer, who advised him to do away with the lunar cycle entirely.
You understand? So basically, he had an informant that was very good with astrology. I mean, he knows how to read the stars and the times. You understand? That nature, and what he took advice from this cat and decided to, instead of this, he made it so they would not follow what the lunar calendar.
Kind of like that.
Right. Go ahead.
Entirely, and follow the solar year.
Yeah, there's a meaning. The same way you have people going around and saying, "Oh, it's a new moon." You understand? Blue moons, blood moons, and stuff like that. Instead of following the lunar, would mean the moon cycles, they decided to follow the sun cycle. Go ahead.
As did the Egyptians.
As what?
As did the Egyptians.
As did the Egyptians. Meaning these devils, the Romans, they decided to stop going by the time frame that really was already supposed to be set in stone. You understand? They decided to change that because it was going to fit their empire the better. You understand? They said, oh, you know what? Instead of following the lunar calendar like majority of the earth does, no, we're going to change the calendar and we're going to follow the solar calendar. Meaning instead of saying whenever the full moon's here, the full moon's there, or blood moons and new moons, they're going to follow basically the distance of the sun from the earth. You understand? When it's this far away, when it's that far away, it's going to change. Though it's going to go off the solar equinox, just like the Egyptians did when they were worshiping the sun god Ra. You understand? Meaning what they did is basically intermingled the Roman philosophies of what they wanted. Like they put the days around the Egyptians' calendar. You understand? So they intermingled both of them together. So the Egyptians, if you did not know, are the Africans that you know of today. Like your Igbos, your Nigerians from Ghana and all that, and your Caucasian races like the Caucasians, the Italians, the Irish, as you would know them today. The Russians, as you know them today, of course. Go ahead.
The year was calculated to be 365 and 1/4 days.
You understand? The calendar was going to be 365 days and 365 and a quarter days. It is. I mean, they don't have an entire the whole 365 every year. Yeah, it is. They added an extra quarter of a day, which hardly makes sense. I mean, they flipped the whole script. That's why we believe morning starts when the sun goes down. I mean, when the sun comes up in America. But normally, if you go by the Lord's times, we divvy up a day when the sun goes down because we are people that follow the lunar calendar. You understand? As blacks, Hispanics, Native Indians, that's the calendar we're supposed to be following as Israelites. But the devil, quote the white man, you understand? He joined up the African calendar and the Roman calendar and made it into a solar calendar. Now they basically worship the sun and follow the sun's movements. Go ahead.
And Caesar added 67 days to 46 BC, making 45 BC begin on January 1st rather than in March.
Ooh, you understand? Man, he added so many days and changed all the times around to make it so New Year's would start on the 1st of January instead of when?
Rather than in March.
In March, which would be the beginning of the spring, late March or early March, early to late March. You understand? It's usually when the spring actually starts. You understand? So that's when the Lord said the new year is in spring. And it goes to show you how much the oppressor knows about what's real, what's not real, and what you should follow and shouldn't follow. They're just trying to show. They show you in history, if you just Google it, how much of a devil they really are. You understand? Is there any more on that? Go ahead.
He also decreed that every 4 years a day be added to February.
What?
Every 4 years a day be added to February.
That's basically that fourth year. That one quarter.
The leap year.
That leap year. How every 4 years there's one more day in February instead of the 28 that they have right now. It has never really made sense. It doesn't make no sense. But they had to do that to make it to follow the solar calendar. You understand? Any more? Go ahead.
Thus theoretically keeping his calendar from falling out of step.
You understand? The only way they could keep the fake calendar that wasn't really supposed to be set up at all from falling out of rotation. You understand? So they have to add a day every 4 years to keep their solar equinox and the solar calendar in play. Go ahead. That's it.
Yeah,
all right. You understand? So there's a little bit of a run-up history on that. So now let's back it up with some scriptures. You understand? Say what?
Thank you for sharing me.
No problem. Anytime. So what we'll start at is Romans 1 and 25. And the heavy part is that the scripture is in Romans. We were just reading that the Romans are the ones that changed everything. Yeah, that's how much of a mastermind the Lord really is. Before the Roman Empire was even really around, he had this prophesied already. You understand? So we can just start right there.
Romans chapter 1, verse 25. Who changed the truth of the power into a lie?
You understand? Who changed the truth of God into a lie? Who did it? You understand? That's why the article said countless times that they would have to change this and change that and change this to fit whatever they wanted in their minds. You understand? The ones that changed God's calendar, the Most High's calendar, how the earth really works and how it really rotates, was the so-called the oppressor as we know him today. The ones that you see with the blonde hair and blue eyes, walking around with that lily white skin. You know, that's the race of people that changed the truth into the lie, in quote, the Romans. You understand? Go ahead.
And worship and serve the creature more than the creator.
Yes, and again, they worship and serve the creature, meaning they serve they served themselves. You understand? More than they serve the Most High. You understand? People are the creature. The Lord is the creator. We ain't supposed to be changing nothing that the Lord set in stone or put down. You understand why? Because not who are we to change what God created? You understand? He said, especially when it comes to the earth. You understand that we don't have the power over the earth to decide how the seasons change, decide how things grow and all that. We don't decide that. We can't. We cannot say, you know what? I want spring to start on September 54th. Of course, not 54th. Of September 20th. We don't have the power to do that. We can't say, okay, all the plants are going to start blooming and blossoming on the earth on December 2nd. We don't have that type of authority. So who are we to be able to go? Who are the creatures? Who are we to go and create and say that we can do that? Well, we can't do that. You understand? That's how we know that the oppressor is such a devil, because he's saying, you know what? I don't care what God does on this earth. I don't care what he said about the seasons or when the new year is. I decide these things because he thinks he's so powerful. He thinks he is just like a God. Go ahead.
Okay. Who is blessed forever. Amen.
You understand? Because the Lord is he's blessed. You understand? He's always going to be the creator, and that is always going to be that. Yes, we have babies, and yes, we can go to science fairs and make science projects. But guess what? The Lord's the one that put that in your spirit anyway. He created you to create that. It was in his grand plan of all things. You understand? You can keep reading.
Okay. For this cause.
Never mind. You can drop that. You understand? Let's go to. Yeah.
Okay. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 1.
This class will be very similar to last week. So.
Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
You understand? If you're a black, Hispanic, or Native Indian, the Lord he's going to be telling us something very instrumental that we have to hear. Go ahead.
Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen.
Do what?
Learn not the way of the heathen.
And we ain't supposed to be learning the ways of these other nations. You understand? We ain't supposed to be learning what the oppressor learned. You understand? What his philosophies, his doctrines, and all that. We ain't supposed to be learning none of that. What the Romans did, with the Roman philosophies and Roman culture, we supposed to leave that alone. The Egyptian culture, we're supposed to leave that alone. But we always try to graft ourselves amongst one of those two. Because we know we were in their civilizations. We were. The thing is that we weren't free people in their civilizations. We're a part of America, but we're not free in America. You understand? They might not have chains on us in Egypt. They might not have chains on us in Rome. And they might not have us in chains right now in America. But all three things have something in common. That they were in rulership. They had religions that force their beliefs upon us. You understand? Keep going.
And be not dismayed at the signs of heaven.
And don't be dismayed at the signs of heaven. You know, that's That's talking about the astrology that they were just talking about in the article. Mm-hmm. They had, like I said, Julius Caesar. He got with an astronomer, and they decided he knew how to read the stars and read the moons and read the sun and all that based off the locations of the times that they were looking at them. You understand? And they decided, you know what? Since I know how to read all these stars and no one else knows how to do it, I'm going to change this and this and this and that, and no one would ever realize it.
Right.
You understand? And now but when we go learn astronomy,